This is the agenda for today. Who is a data scientist? And we will try and figure out what kind of profiles of data scientists exist. What or who is a data scientist? And this is what we're going to try and answer in one slide, which is a very popular slide in data science. This was first proposed by Drew Conway, and this is his Venn diagram that he says is representative of the kind of skills that you need to be a data scientist. So he says you need I hope everybody understands Venn diagrams. This is the Venn diagram. This essentially Venn diagram says that you need to have hacking skills, you need to have math and statistics knowledge, and you need to have substantive expertise, right? And a mix of all these three put together is in the center over there. And that is what is called data science today. And if you have a mix of hacking skills and math and statistic knowledge, then you can do some machine learning. That's what the Venn diagram says. If you have a lot of experience and then you have math and statistics knowledge, you can do some research. And the danger zone is if you have hacking skills and substantive expertise, but no math and statistics knowledge. And that's where you become dangerous. And why is that? Right? So why is it called danger zone? Because you start making inferences that are probably suitable in your head and not backed by mathematical methods, right? So we'll talk about that, but then what you need essentially is you need a combination of hacking skills, math and statistics knowledge, and substantive expertise. What do I mean when I say hacking skills? You need to be able to program, you need to be able to use a computer, you need to be able to understand what you can do with a computer. Now in here specifically, it means how can you write program in a particular language? How can you make the computer do certain things? And this is where your CS background comes in, right? We'll look into the kind of topics you would need, but then this is what it means to have hacking skills. It doesn't mean you should be a hacker with in terms of computer security, right? You shouldn't be like the hackers that they show in movies where you're trying to break into government systems and trying to go to jail. You don't have to go to jail to do data science. Because if you are in jail, you can't do data science. No, so what I'm trying to say is that you have to be good with your computers. You need to know what you can do, what are databases, how does the internet work, how can you do programming, and yeah, basically know your way around a computer, right? That is what is meant by hacking skills here. Math and statistics knowledge is the bedrock, which is what you use to give credentials to your data, right? Anybody can collect data, but then how do you actually use that data convert that data into information and then to knowledge? You can convert that data to information maybe by storing it on a computer and then just running some queries to retrieve. But how do you convert that to a knowledge? And that is where mathematical skills come into play. We'll talk about the different topics, but essentially it's about knowing your way around statistics, which is again the language of data, to interpret data, and probability, some linear algebra for machine learning, some calculus as well. So a combination of these branches of mathematics is important for you to be able to do machine learning effectively. And substantive experience or expertise here means knowing a domain particularly well. Data in itself, if you think about it, holds no value. Data is always about something, right? Like data about say coronavirus or number of people infected. So it is always dependent on a domain. It is not independent of a domain. You always collect data about something. right? So that's where substantive expertise comes in. Like there are different domains in which data is collected, and different kinds of data, different ways in which they are collected, right? You can talk about the finance world, you can talk about the HR world, you can talk about the automotive world, you can talk about the internet technologies world. So everyone has their own KPIs or key performance indicators, and the way they collect data is different. What drives their industries are different. So that's where you bring in your expertise as somebody who knows that field really well, and use those skills along with your hacking and mathematical skills to be able to do data science. One quick tip to remember what a data scientist does is essentially data scientist can either do optimization or some sort of a prediction, right? Optimization of existing process, so you try and make the existing process better, or you predict the occurrence of an event with the given data that you have. So essentially, if you break it down into the bare minimum, these are the two kinds of things you would do as a data scientist. Of course, a lot of other things are you do as well, like for example, presenting your reports or dashboards, right? But then your reports and dashboards are also about the optimization that you did or about the prediction that you did, right? So essentially, you do these two things, which is optimization of existing process or existing process in the company or in your domain, and prediction. So these two things. So as a data scientist, these are your responsibilities, and these are the skill sets that you need, the Venn diagram that we have seen. So with that said, let's move on to the different kinds of data scientist roles that exist on the market. Now, this is something that different people have different parameters to classify. In my case, I'm classifying based on the kind of job opportunities, because we are talking about finding jobs here. So I'm talking with respect to the kind of job opportunities I see out there in the market. And let's look at what are the two different kinds. So the two different kinds from what I've seen so far are the specialist data scientists and generalist data scientists. Again, this is a characterization that I have done based on what I see in the market. I'll talk more about how it makes sense as we go further. So according to me, you have two kinds of data scientists out there in the market: specialist data scientists, generalist data scientists. When I say specialist data scientist, I'm talking about a specialization of the data scientist on the basis of the type of data they work with, or the domain they work in, or the technologies they work with, right? So these are the kinds of categorizations that I see for a specialist data scientist. And a generalist data scientist is one who typically works across the different kinds of data sets, domains, and technologies. Now you have to evaluate yourself and see where you stand and see where you want to be as well. We'll talk about each of these categories a little bit more in detail as we go further. But maybe after that, it might be a bit more clear as to what I mean by this. But then this is the kind of job opportunities that will be there on the market once you start applying, right? So I have an example of a specialist data scientist here. I have an example of a specialist data scientist here. And this is something that I took from the internet when I was making the slides recently. There's a company called One Concern. It's a Menlo Park-based benevolent AI company with a mission to increase global communities' resilience to natural hazards. So basically, they help improve response to natural disasters, or they help better human response to natural disasters. And they were searching for a computer vision data scientist. Let's look at the requirements that they had. And it says daily responsibilities include training deep learning based computer vision models that estimate socioeconomic and built environment characteristics and natural hazard impacts, etc., from overhead and street level imagery. So they're using images, overhead images, street level images, to train deep learning models that will estimate the socioeconomic characteristics of that area, right? So they have a very well defined problem that they're trying to solve, and they're using computer vision to solve that, right? And they want somebody who is good at that. We'll see the must haves, but they want somebody who's good at computer vision, and yet the position is called computer vision data scientist, right? Creating replicable and scalable I'm reading the second point now, daily responsibilities. Creating replicable and scalable microservices that trains, updates, and run model, ingests satellite data, and renders usable data products for downstream consumption. Brainstorming about new data sets and methods to improve our knowledge of cities that deploy our services. So all in all, they want somebody who can build the models, who can deploy those models as a microservice, and then keep updating as new data comes in, and again talk about how they can get those new data sets that will add to their product, right? So this is what they want of a data scientist, and this you can already see is a very specialist kind of a role. Let's look at the must-haves, and then I'll talk about it in general. We love to hear what you have done, even if it's not for work. We want to see that you understand the challenges of building a machine learning or a deep learning pipeline, from data ingestion to processing to training and finally to evaluation. Here's your number one tip for finding a job in data science. That is the number one point of this slide under must-haves. If you see that, we love to hear what you have done, even if it's not for work, right? And I think a lot of companies are like this as well. So they would be very open to hear about something that you've done, especially if you're new. We'll talk about that in one of the slides I have, but especially if you're new and you've not worked in the area before, it's fine. It might be something that you've done as a personal project. But what do they want to see? We want to see that you understand the challenges of building a machine learning or a deep learning pipeline, from data ingestion to processing to training and finally to evaluation. So do you understand the kind of challenges that come while you do all these steps? And have you done that either for work or not for work? Doesn't matter, right? If you're a student or if you're a professional in another field, put this on a checklist. See if you've done this already. If you have not, please do this. And this will help you already leapfrog a lot of the other applicants that are there. Having said that, now let's look at the other requirements they have. 2 to 3 years of related industry experience working on computer vision or deep learning problems. This is a typical HR line, so this is fine. Everybody says 2 to 3 years of related industry experience, but as long as you can show them you've done some work, even if it's not related industry experience, if it is some industry experience, or if it is a good project that you did on your own, it should be fine. There are many libraries out there. I'm reading the third point now, but you should have experience in at least one of the following: TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, Torch, MXNet. So this is a very clear requirement for a deep learning person, right? Like TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch typically are used to run deep learning models, right? So this is a very specialist data scientist role. You know how convolutions, gradient descent, and backpropagation work. This is, again, convolutions come from your convolution neural network. It's a mathematical operation. Basically, how do you convolve between two matrices? Gradient descent is an optimization algorithm. and backpropagation is the technique used to update the weights in a neural network setting. So these are basics of when you learn more about neural networks or deep learning. These are basics that you will learn. So you need to know these for this role, because this is a full-fledged deep learning role. They're not talking about anything else, right? You enjoy creative and structured problem solving. You like the challenge of working on complex challenges and are capable of breaking a larger problem into sizable, edible chunks to work on. You're comfortable with ambiguity and not well-defined objectives, which is strange because here I can clearly see it's a very well-defined problem. Or maybe it's more about when we get a new data set, what do we do? But they have already made it a very specialist role, but they're still like, you should be comfortable with ambiguity, which is a good thing. I mean, if you're comfortable with ambiguity, it means that you can respond to situations that are maybe not favorable, which is a good thing. Yeah, so this is about a specialist data scientist. This is one example. Like I said, it can be a natural language processing data scientist where a lot of these requirements will not look like how they look now. They will be more about, can you do NLP? Have you done computational linguistic topics like, again, part of speech extraction, part of speech tagging, named entity extraction, and all of that, right? So where a lot of the requirements will be NLP specific. So that is another kind of a role that you can specialize in. These, like I said, these roles are based on the kind of data set that you will work on, right? Computer vision data scientist invariably is an image, because videos are also converted to image, and at the end of the day, you're working with matrices from an image. NLP data scientist would work with textual data and all the methods that you use to work on that. And then you can also have somebody who works a lot with tabular data, maybe your time series forecaster, or maybe you like building recommender systems, right? So then you're specializing in that kind of a role. So these are different kinds of specialist data scientist roles that you can apply to. And for this, you have to prepare in a particular field, in a particular data set, which again is a choice that you have to make, right? So this is a deep learning computer vision role where you have to know deep learning a lot and pretty well, and you have to know computer vision, because deep learning also is used for NLP. So you have to, you're also specializing in the methods of deep learning or techniques of deep learning used specifically for computer vision in the case of this role. Okay, so this is about a specialist data scientist. Quickly moving to a generalist data scientist at a company called Vettery, again, which is based in the US. Vettery is fundamentally changing the way people hire and get hired, leveraging machine learning models that track real-time data, monitor trends, and predict hiring behavior. We are able to help companies grow their teams with accuracy, speed, and compatibility. That's what they say they do. Basically, they help different companies hire people. Okay, so let's look at the kind of people they need here. So this is a data scientist role. Who you are: PhD in statistics, operations research, mathematics, computer science, or other quantitative field. I don't know if the PhD is a mandatory requirement here, but a lot of places don't need PhD. But in the US, I think there's a lot of requirement for PhDs because a lot of people do PhDs there. And yeah, and PhDs are easily available, so why not ask for them, right? So it's like that. 3+ years of industry experience delivering and scaling successful and innovative machine learning products. So now here, these guys are like, you must have some industry experience. Again, the number of years doesn't matter. It's just not a random number, but it's an approximate number which says, okay, if you have some experience delivering and scaling successful and innovative machine learning products, You can already see it's generic machine learning products, example, recommendation engines or experimentation systems, right? So all these things, if you've been building, we'll talk about these things as we go. Track record of success working both independently and with key stakeholders to identify and solve data science problems. So how can you work with stakeholders and together work with them and see, hey, this is maybe we can build a product here, or this is where we need to do some analysis, or they might ask you to do some analysis. So how do you interact with them? Strong skills in statistical languages. Example, Python/R. Python/R are not statistical languages. Okay, I think they mean strong skills in languages. Yeah. So these are, programming languages, Python or R. They want you to have strong skills in either of these. And querying languages, example, SQL. So Python, R, SQL, any of these languages would work. Experience with NLP is a plus, but not required, right? So if you've done some natural language processing, great, but it's not compulsory. With the above said, we always encourage people of all backgrounds and experiences to apply. So that's what I said, PhD, not required maybe. We understand that job listings don't always allow your unique work history to shine, so we invite you to show us what you know, which is again a very encouraging sign. It says, of course, you might have gotten lucky and gotten a degree, but let's say you have skills, but you couldn't get a degree, right? And that's where veterinary is like, okay, no problem, come, we'll talk to you. Okay, what you will do, you'll work with a highly motivated, fun, productive team, move quickly and deliver amazing data science products, developing creative solutions to our biggest data science and engineering challenges. You will build machine learning infrastructure and models. You will build recommendation engines. You will build statistical models. You'll build NLP engines that will drive activity on our platform, scale our business, and enhance the user experience. So like I said, this is more generic. This is more about, hey, can you build a recommendation engine? Can you build a statistical model for something? Can you build an NLP engine? Can you build A/B testing? Can you do all of that, right? So now, and maybe build something in computer vision as well, right? Maybe a basic OCR, who knows? So now you are working across data sets and contributing to the company. This is not necessarily a very specific role. So now you will work on the kinds of, maybe sometimes you're also doing just reporting or dashboarding, because that's what the business stakeholders want to see, right? So this role is a lot more generic, which will also mean you need to have breadth. It's the question between breadth and depth. A lot more breadth, a lot more topics that you should be good enough, at least. So this is that kind of a role. Let me just finish the last 3 points. Communicate rationale and findings from analysis to facilitate operational decisions. Design and track experiments for data science products, as well as analysis throughout the organization. In short, own all phases of the data science product lifecycle. This is what I was talking about. In short, you need to own all phases of the data science product lifecycle, right from exploratory data analysis to your model development, to your model productionizing, to your rollout and evaluation. This is the entire lifecycle plus across different data sets. So this is what you would do as a generalist data scientist.